You know, ladies and gentlemen, over the years I have covered many talk show hosts and their very questionable, cringy behavior, ranging from Ellen DeGeneres to Jimmy Kimmel to John Oliver. However, there is one out there who somehow, someway, has never made an appearance on the channel, which I find pretty strange given the type of person they've been exposed as, and that is none other than the very kind, funny, likable James Corden, who, by the way, is also known for his legendary acting skills.
A drink at the drum.
Yeah, the less we talk about that, the better. But James Corden is a prime example of letting fame get to your head and ruining your career with your absolutely terrible attitude and behavior, which ultimately led to him losing one of the most popular TV shows in America. So in today's episode, as you can tell, as you can see with the title and thumbnail, we're going to be talking about the spectacular collapse of James Corden's career. Now, before we do get into it, ladies and gentlemen, if you could, as always, make sure to leave a like rating. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, turn on bell notifications so you never miss a video, share this video, and let's get into it. So I know at the time, to many Americans, it might have seemed like James Corden literally came out of nowhere. Maybe he was even an industry plant, but I tell you now, this arrogant TV host journey began way before he was even given the Late Late Show in America. And it all began when he first started to get some attention with a British drama series called Fat Friends that aired on ITV from the 12th of October 2000 to the 24th of March 2005. And the series was all about, well, you guessed it, fat friends try to lose weight. Now already you can tell with the title of that show, if they tried anything like that today, well, we know what the reaction would be.
You can't say fat man.
How dare you?
But most importantly, this is where James Corden first met co-star Ruth Jones, who along with James Corden would end up creating the 2007 British sitcom Gavin and Stacey, which I gotta be honest with you guys is a series I haven't seen, and this one is very shocking for a lot of British people watching right now to hear because it is a British classic. But in this British sitcom, James Corden would play the character Smithy, who was best friends with one of the main characters, Gavin, and it would be this show that catapulted James Corden into British fame. There was a time where everybody was talking about this show, millions would watch it, with the final episode of Gavin and Stacey achieving a 19.1 million total viewers, making it the most watched Christmas Day program in the UK in 23 years. This figure includes catch-up viewing, as the initial overnight rating for the Christmas Day broadcast was 12.3 million viewers. And because of the success of the show, the opportunities were coming in left, right and centre for James Corden. He would end up hosting the Brit Awards many times, which for Americans watching right now is the British version of the Grammys. He would appear on panel shows such as A League of Their Own, 8 out of 10 Cats, and Nevermind the Buzzcocks. He would have a comedy sketch in 2009 on Comic Relief, where he would play the character Smithy from Gavin and Stacey and give the England national team a passionate team talk. And how many of you know he even created a song with British rapper Dizzy Rascal in 2010 called Shout that was for the World Cup that year? Man, I tell you, I remember that song. It became a viral sensation. I even asked my mum, I think, to buy the CD for me. That's how big of an impact James Corden was having.
1, 2, 3, everybody sing. Shout, let it all out.
So I think it's fair to say, slowly but surely, James Corden, he was everywhere in the 2000s. You couldn't escape him. At some point, he would appear on your TV screen, and that was all mainly because of the success from Gavin and Stacey, but another part of it was, and this would actually help him in America as well later on in his career, people saw him as this relatable celebrity. He had this humble, kind, working class aura that a lot of people saw and again could relate to. You know, he wasn't this classic pompous celebrity everybody was used to. However, that was how he was appearing on screen, and it was his behavior off screen that started to slowly change his public image. And this actually led to Rob Brydon, his former co-star from Gavin and Stacey, having to confront him about his behavior. He explained that while Corden was enjoying the fruits of his success, he lost his way for a bit. The comedian said at the time he was burning the candle at both ends and becoming ratty and irritable. He was in a washing machine being battered around. I felt for him, and the press over here were hoping and praying he'd fall flat on his face because that would be a fantastic story. Worried that his co-star would end up ruining his reputation, Brydon decided to take him out for lunch and set him straight. I was thinking, when am I going to bring this up? And I just said, I don't like hearing people saying this because that's not the person I know, so you need to be careful. And he took it in the spirit that was intended. Did he though? Because even his family had to get involved at one point, with his parents praying for him and his sisters trying to speak to him about what a he was being. His mother Margaret said, "You can try and say, look James, you're making a prat of yourself, but you can only do so much." His sisters would come in and say to James, "Don't be a..." And none of this was clearly helping, because when he hosted the 2010 Glamour Women of the Year award, you know, a time when they actually gave the award to women,
How dare you?
There was a moment that shattered this humble, nice guy persona that he had, because Patrick Stuart on stage ended up publicly humiliating him as he was giving off this uninterested attitude and acting like he would rather be somewhere else, and instead of James Corden taking it on the many chins that he had, he decided to hit back, and it got awkward very quickly.
I want to speak to James here. It's James, isn't it? When the presenters are up here and when the recipients are receiving their awards, don't stand at the back of the stage with your hands in your pockets, looking around as though you wished you were anywhere but here.
Oh, you couldn't be more wrong, sir. You couldn't be more wrong. Oh, genuinely. And if it looked like that, I'm so sorry. But when you come up and present an award, just get on with it. There we go.
From where I was sitting, I can see your belly. And that was right over there at the back of the room. These people down here, you know.
Sorry, I'm waiting for the punchline. Go on. No, seriously, go on.
Okay.
No, go on. You can see my belly, and we can all see you dying right now. Let's go for it. Here we go.
Imagine being in the room at that time. Everybody would be looking at each other like... But regardless of all of that and the real James Corden slowly getting exposed, he was still receiving opportunities. He was still appearing on TV shows. He even had a role in theatre, but it was in 2014 when he would take on his biggest role, and it would send him to the very top of Hollywood, even if it was for a few short years. It was announced in 2014, to the shock of many Americans, that Craig Ferguson was to step down from the Late Late Show, and it was revealed that James Corden was to replace Craig Ferguson as the host, with the New York Post even going on to report, most Americans likely never have seen nor heard of Mr. Corden unless they made it to Broadway 2 seasons ago and caught his Tony Award winning performance in One Man, Two Governors, or ran into some episodes of a BBC series he co-created called Gavin and Stacey, in which he played a supporting role. He also starred in the cult hit Hulu series The Wrong Mans. But Mr. Corden, who was 36 at the time, is one of the most popular young comics in England, with credits in television, theatre and film. He's in the current film Begin Again with Keira Knightley and the coming movie Into the Woods with Meryl Streep. He has been widely praised as a host of televised events like the Brit Awards, a British pop music award show. He's even hosted a comedy game show based on sports called A League of Their Own. Mr. Corden also sings. So even with the New York Times glazing James Corden as much as they could, and I'm sure many other news outlets at the time did the same thing, this probably still caused a lot of questions for American viewers. Who is this random British dude? Why is he replacing Craig Ferguson? Why is a British dude replacing an American TV host? But this is where Americans got their first taste of this humble, nice guy persona, and it's fair to say they fell in love with it.
It really isn't lost on me what a privilege it is to be given a show like this, and I will really do my best not to let any of you down.
And James Corden ended up changing the game when it came to talk shows, let's be honest, because he didn't just sit there and speak to celebrity guests he had on like others did. He branched out and did other things with the celebrities, and this is where we got probably one of the most famous creations from any show in this realm, and that was Carpool Karaoke. Now, for those of you that somehow don't know anything about this is where James Corden would sit in a car with a famous celebrity and have more of a relatable conversation with these people and sing some of their most famous songs, and this gave viewers something fresh, something they'd never seen before, and it presented celebrities as more relatable. I mean, it was so popular, even I used to watch them back in the day.
Hello. You're insecure, don't know what for. You're turning heads when you walk through the door.
Yeah, you guys probably remember as well, right? Every time you hear about somebody appearing on this show, you would refresh the channel just to see if they uploaded the Carpool Karaoke. It was a massive hit. And then if it wasn't Carpool Karaoke going viral for understandable reasons, it was another segment on the show that a lot of people fell in love with called Spill Your Guts or Fill Your Guts. And this would also again present celebrities in a more relatable way, as they either had to answer a deep question about their lives or eat something disgusting, and who doesn't want to see that? It had the element from another show that a lot of people like called I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, where at some point on that show, celebrities are challenged to eat something disgusting, and again, these are the things viewers like to see, as it makes these famous people look more human. But these were the segments that led to the Late Late Show becoming insanely popular. I mean, as of making this video, the channel almost has 30 million subscribers, with Carpool Karaoke bringing in millions and millions of views. But this is where things started to take a turn for the worse, and this humble, nice guy persona that he not only conveyed to the world, but now America, was starting to crack. And this was during a segment on Spill Your Guts or Fill Your Guts with Jimmy Kimmel, where he was asked a relatively simple question that should be easy to answer, and this happened.
Name 2 of the cameramen in this room.
It's a different crew tonight, actually.
Yeah, so you can tell things got very awkward there for James Corden, because surely this humble guy that gets along with everybody would know who is working with him, would know the name of people on his crew. But no, it's insane that the producers greenlit this. They allowed this to happen. They knew what was going to happen if Jimmy Kimmel asked that question. And I think this just showed how disliked he actually was behind the scenes. You know, how terribly he treated the people around him, because his crew went behind his back and put the question in there. And it was after this where we started to see more situations making the rounds of his terrible behavior and how he actually treated people. For example, we have the viral disastrous Reddit MAA that James Corden took part in. Swinging by Reddit for a nothing off limits Ask Me Anything session is a celebrity rite of passage by now. Everyone from former US President Barack Obama to pop icon Madonna has given it a whirl. Unfortunately, Corden's joint MAA alongside his producer Ben Winston and 5 other members of his Carpool Karaoke team took a turn for the worse when users began replying with a series of allegations about his behavior. You won't remember me, but me and my friend sat at a table next to you and Harry Styles and some others in Manchurian Legends in London's Chinatown about 6 years ago. We didn't bother you, but you were a massively entitled who yelled and treated the waitstaff like, and when one of my party politely suggested you calm down, you got really aggressive and threatening, they wrote. Corden only answered a handful of Redditors' questions before ducking out of the MAA. So his reputation was getting worse and worse, but it wasn't only because of his behavior and his attitude towards others, it was also other projects he was involved in. For example, the film Cats. Man, I don't even want to talk about this, but this was widely criticized and was branded as absolute garbage, with James Corden being the center of attention because of the role he played and his acting ability. The film has a 19% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and a 2.8 out of 10 rating on IMDb. Oh my gosh, even James Corden ended up mocking the film, which also didn't go down too well. Despite personally starring in the much maligned and accidentally iconic adaptation of Cats, the actor didn't hesitate to mock the film at the Oscars alongside his co-star Rebel Wilson, appearing in 2 comedy cat costumes as they presented the 2010 award for the best visual effects. Corden joked that nobody understands more than us the importance of good visual effects.
Nobody more than us understands the importance of good visual effects.
Now, people saw this as him throwing the visual effects team under the bus, and the society as a whole actually responded. The best visual effects in the world will not compensate for a story told badly, they said. On a night that is all about honoring the work of talented artists, it is immensely disappointing that the Academy made visual effects the butt of a joke. And James Corden now was becoming so immensely disliked not only by the UK but also now America, that even a petition was created to keep him out of the production of the Wicked film that gained close to 110,000 signatures. So that is pretty embarrassing for the likable, funny and kind James Corden, who treated everybody well. But this is where we now move on to probably the biggest scandal James Corden was involved in that completely destroyed any part of this humble nice guy persona that was left. As in 2022, James Corden was banned from a New York restaurant for abusive behavior. In an Instagram post on Monday, October 17th, Keith McNally, the owner of celebrity hotspot Balthazar, explained how Corden had berated employees on multiple occasions. He began the post by saying James Corden is a hugely gifted comedian, but a tiny cretin of a man, and the most abusive customer to my Balthazar servers since the restaurant opened 25 years ago. The owner went on to say that he rarely bans anyone from his restaurant before providing providing examples of Corden's abusive behavior towards his staff. McNally explained how during a visit in June, Corden demanded a round of drinks this second and that his previous drinks be made free after he found a hair in his food. After finishing his main course, he was then extremely nasty to the restaurant manager. On another occasion this month, McNally alleged that Corden was once again abusive to staff members when they got his wife's order wrong. Oh no. According to the owner, Corden told the server, "You can't do your job. You can't do your job. Maybe I should go into the kitchen and cook the omelette myself. It's just an omelette, mate. Why are you so upset?" In a follow-up post, McNally revealed that Corden had actually called him and apologized profusely for his behavior, encouraging the owner to reverse the ban. But it feels like ever since that incident, things have never really been the same, and his reputation was in a terrible place, and this started to reflect even more within his career, especially on The Late Late Show, as it was reported CBS was losing millions on James Corden's late night show and it wasn't sustainable. And when the only thing keeping the show alive, Carpool Karaoke, was exposed as fake, as somebody recorded his carpool karaoke with Justin Bieber and it was revealed the car they were in was actually being pulled by a trailer. This ruined the aura the segment had because fans bought into the idea that James Corden was actually having a nice drive around LA with a celebrity, and when the veil was lifted, fans didn't want any part of it because it no longer had that quote-unquote relatability. Now, he did actually address this controversy on his show and revealed that on some occasions he was actually driving the celebrity around.
Here is a list of every carpool karaoke where I've used a tow, and this is a list of everyone where I was driving the car.
But the damage was obviously done because the illusion was no longer there. How could fans tell in the future if it was James Corden actually driving or somebody pulling the car along? But this did actually impact the viewership along with all the other controversies he was involved in, and it led to James Corden stepping away from the show and moving back to the UK. Now, he claims this was actually to spend time with his family, but I don't think that is true, and not many people bought that excuse either. I mean, even just before James Corden stepped away from the show, he was getting exposed for his terrible behavior again, as a TV director slammed James Corden as the most difficult and obnoxious presenter he has ever worked with. The comments came from Craig Duncan, who directed Corden 44 during an episode of A League of Their Own. Taken to YouTube to recall his experience with the actor, Duncan, a seasoned director with more than 60 credits to his name, described in detail how Corden insulted his lens work and even called him stupid. What the F is going on here? Corden allegedly asked a director and other staffers during filming for the show in 2013. "You put a camera there, you put a camera there, it's so obvious how you shoot it, you're stupid." The assertion came in a video shared to Duncan's YouTube this week, in which he alleged the show host recently tabbed one of the biggest in show business by ex-Spice Girl Mel B, engaged in a meltdown similar to the one that saw him banned from Balthazar late last year. So I think it's fair to say people were falling out of love with James Corden very rapidly. I mean, you can't act like a twat for your whole career, and his character has been exposed over the years to the point where I don't think we'll see him in anything big ever again. I don't think he'll ever host another TV show again. I think Hollywood is just about done with James Corden. I think most of the world has forgotten about James Corden, and maybe, just maybe, that's the best for him and everybody else. So leave your thoughts down below, ladies and gentlemen. What are your thoughts on James Corden and everything you heard in this video? I'd like to know. Once again, if you have enjoyed, make sure to leave a like rating. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, turn on bell notifications so you never miss a video, share this video. But until next time, it has been your host JD. Have a great day, stay safe, and I'm out. Peace.